I, okay, so I'll go ahead and cover this. I'm gonna start with the Jamu because he and I are pretty tight. He actually invited me to attend this call, and I normally don't even attend PDA calls anymore because they've actually been really defamatory towards me over the last year. And I used to, it's particularly hurtful to me because I used to have like a mentoring relationship with like all of the leaders involved in this organization. And it's just hard for me emotionally to like even deal with them anymore. But Ajamu asked me to attend, so I was there.
Sue Wisner, I have one question from the subject, and then we'll go over to the.
By the way, I know Sue as well. Sue and I spoke after this meeting. We talked for a little bit.
General strategy conversation. Up next is John. We'll go for it.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Dr. Bill? Thanks for the report. Hey, Dr. Bill, real quick. You had cited the Harvard report. Could you drop that to me and give me? Yeah, because I would like to read it myself as well too.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Great to see you, Jean. This is a daily tracker from Harvard University, and I always compile it into what I call a COVID reality check. And it's a really handy tool. You can see there, it's my first start, a footnote in my reality check, the Harvard University daily tracker. You can use that tool to filter by congressional district, by state, first of all, congressional district and county. So you can do number of cases or number of COVID deaths, and you can filter for your own congressional district or county. So it's really, really handy to follow. And the second footnote, of course, is the Lancet Commission study that was published back in February that showed some 40% of all COVID deaths would be prevented with a single payer Medicare for all system. So, and that was a very large panel of distinguished public health experts who compiled that information.
So is that information, if I go to the Lancet Journal, I will be able to access that information? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Now, in terms of the daily tracker, do I go to the Harvard University website and go to daily tracker? Do I have to Google Harvard daily tracker?
That's what I put the link in the chat. That's their daily tracking. That link is for the daily track.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dr. Bill. I appreciate it.
So just so y'all know, that Dr. Bill does this call every week. They're calling it the Progressive Townhall now, but formerly this was the healthcare town hall. That's what they were calling it. It's a weekly call where they give us an update on where we stand with getting Medicare for all advanced and where we are in the pandemic. And it's updates on the pandemic, and oftentimes Dr. Bill will invite special guests to sit in and talk about the pandemic and Medicare for all. Ajamo is a wonderful activist who has been in touch with me since he was running for South Vice Chair of the Progressive Caucus. And we talk almost every day. But he also followed my entire journey of getting basically absolutely defamed by PDA, and they still haven't dealt with it. They still haven't apologized for it. So it's, he asked me to attend the call. I went ahead and did it, but it's painful for me. It hurts me. It hurts my feelings because they literally defamed me.
My pleasure.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I just again placed into, please everybody do check out this link that we produced this report. Our staff member Deb does just a brilliant job with this every week. So please check that out on the PDA website. Sue Wisner, you're up. Oh, I asked you to unmute. If you can unmute, please.
Okay, finally it's letting me. I have two questions. The first one is, Holland is going into a lockdown. Israel is going into a partial lockdown. I think other countries are. I guess our country, because it's super capitalistic, just doesn't want to go into a lockdown. I think we should, because I don't want to get into Israeli politics. I'm just saying countries that are going into lockdowns. I guess we can. I guess you'll answer about that. Secondly, I worked for Bernie. I'm still on the New York Health Act working to try to get that done. I'm totally for Medicare for all, but it's not going to happen now. So can we do other things like trying to open more community health centers that try to put that in some kind of bill that are free? The ones that Bernie opened up are free. I think there's some in Vermont. Maybe there's other things we can do to make healthcare more accessible until we get Medicare for all. So that's 2 questions I have.
Dr. Bill?
Well, so my response, and I don't know, Alan, because you're a economics kind of guy. Maybe you'd like to speak to the shutdown of our capitalist system. I think there are a whole lot of countries that need, they look to their public health system as a way to prevent more economic decline as well. And so we may be not looking at the prevention side if we fail to shut down. So I'm in agreement with those countries that see the need to shut down. And it's not because we're capitalist versus non-capitalist. In my opinion, it's more just because we don't give enough credence to the science. This is, if we allow ourselves to run roughshod still during a pandemic, we're going to end up losing a lot of valuable resource, in particular our workforce.
Wow. Okay. That's a really interesting analysis, Dr. Bill. I think I think you're wrong there. By the way, Sue and I have been in touch for years. She is an amazing activist. I think you're wrong. I think it absolutely is because of our economic system. That because we're a capitalist nation, these sort of arguments against science are invented because they see some level of profit. But okay, you do you.
So I do think it's that's a that's something that has to be weighed out by those who think about the economy and labor, that kind of thing. I don't see it as really worldwide at this point. So if it is, some countries here or there, from what I'm seeing in the kind of the global news on COVID, that doesn't seem to be a global standard, as regards this variant of the pandemic at this point. So, but I think your question is a good one to keep in mind. And then the other question was on, we don't seem to have the capacity to get Medicare for all at this point. Should we look at other, say incremental approaches, that would help people to get more healthcare in the meantime? Absolutely. We have to be doing anything that will get more people more healthcare, save lives at the interim. But it's really a chew gum and walk at the same time. If we can't lose focus on the big picture, for the sake of accomplishing smaller things. I mean, that was the attempt behind expanding Medicare in the Build Back Better. We know that that Medicare needs to be expanded. It needs to include all essential medical services, including dental, vision, hearing, mental health, long-term care. All those things need to be in Medicare. So absolutely, we could be working on those things as we.
You know who was not on this call, by the way? And I did drop this in the comments, and because there's every time you're on a Zoom, there's also like a chat area. I did drop this in the comments. Jimmy Dore was not on the call. The Convo Couch, Fiorella, Pasta, Jackson Hinkle, Don Ford, Carlos Marquine of the Bernie's Coffee Shop, Michelle Manos. none of the people who are trying to assert themselves as the leader of the Bernie movement were on this fucking call, and they never are. I've been attending this call for 2 years. I stopped attending because they decided that it was more important for them to preserve their relationships with those types of people than with me, an actual chapter leader. And they felt that it was necessary to defame me. And so I stopped going to the calls. But I never, ever see any of these people, not Karen Burnell, not Katrina Bergstrom, not Susie Shannon. None of them ever show up to the actual progressive calls. But they assert themselves as the leader of this movement. And it's incredibly frustrating to me, you guys, that they are trying to be out there acting like they are the leaders of the progressive movement, and they don't even participate. They're unwilling to put in any work.
Work towards the big picture, which is to pass Medicare for all, whether it's at the state or federal level. Hopefully
Dr. Bill,
that answers you.
Dr. Bill, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know Henry just got here if you want to ask him what his opinion is right now.
Great, thanks.
We got some house cleaning here. First of all, within 10 minutes, we want to get to the general conversation. Professor K has joined us. Also, we will be taking this subject up, will be the entire focus next week, again, on the crisis and the fight for Medicare for all. We'll be returning to a town hall with the split subjects. The following week, we'll be having the first hour. The first hour will be on the dangerous continuing perils of nuclear power and nuclear proliferation. Helen Caldecott will be one of our guests. I did get somebody ask me a question in the chat. I had one question, as I mentioned a few moments ago, which is the issue of the pills that are being generated. Your thoughts on those? They are included in the summary, and then Jennifer Beck will be up next with the final question before we move on to the general discussion. And then maybe we can throw to Henry, if Henry has thoughts, your comments on the pills, and your thoughts on if that may be a game changer at all, that are now going to be available on the market and what the timing will be for that. So answer those, then Jenna and Henry, whichever, whoever speaks up first.
If Henry is here, if we can unmute Henry, maybe he'd like to jump in on the pills. I did mention that in my little brief at the beginning. Unfortunately, the antiviral pills that we're hearing about, both from Pfizer and Merck companies, are,
I used to have breakfast every Monday with Dr. Bill and Dr. Henry. I used to have breakfast with them every Monday. It was called like Progressive Cafe. And Danette got involved and decided to co-opt the meeting and bring it north to a place where I just don't, it's not realistic for me to be there anymore. She cut me out of several meetings. She has pushed me out of PDA meetings. I was actually surprised that I was able to stay in this meeting today, because I have been thrown out of meetings before because she has some sort of weird vendetta against me.
Okay, they have all of the baggage that big pharma attaches to their products, right? So it's going to be a question of, is it going to be available in a timely fashion, which is critical with these pills. You have to get started on them soon, right? As soon as your symptoms begin. They're going to have, pricing questions associated with them. And especially their intellectual property rights, patents. So, all that stuff. So until it's actually publicly produced and made available, all of those things, all that baggage is tied to the pills. So we keep hearing that it's a game changer. Well, it's certainly going to help those who probably need the help the least at this point. It's not going to help our underserved communities, and that means preventable deaths still, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Henry Broska is here still.
Yeah, I'm here. I can make a
hey.
comment on that if you wish.
Please do, Henry. And we have about 6 more minutes in the segment.
Okay. Well, let's look at the perspective of this from a public health point of view.
Hey, Henry.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt because you're just launching, but if I can just, because not everyone here might know you because it's been a while since one of your guest appearances. But this is our good friend, Dr. Henry Broska, who's a health systems analyst and specialist. So, Henry, thanks.
Okay, it's not my area of expertise, but I do work with Dr. David Cohen, who isn't on the call today, but I believe he was going to prepare some comments for next week, thinking he did not have enough information for this week because there's so much information that's just coming out now. So he would like to take maybe 10 minutes next week if it's on healthcare again. But my comment would be that we've had such a great demonstration of public health participation and what should have been a great success anyway with people getting vaccinated. And, I come from Canada, and Canada is now up to 90% of people who have had their second vaccination, and they're well on their way to getting 90% who have had booster shots already. So there's, like in the United States, there are holdouts. There are 10% holdouts of the country, and that's what you would expect. But even at that, the transmission rate of this variant is so high that people are getting it, and they are having something like a greater than 10% rate of infection that they've charted, and they think it might be 3 or 4 times that. So it's very high in Canada, as it is in all other countries, because all the countries seem to have gotten this variant at about the same time. That's how transmissible it is. As to the pills, and we know that there's a Merck pill, and now there's a Pfizer pill and a Merck pill. The monoclonal antibodies do not seem to work on this particular variant, but the pills do. Now, the pills, I understand, are about $700 or $850 each, depending on which one it is. And that seems to be, I'm not sure if public health is going to take care of that. Does anybody know at this point? Dr. Bill, do you know if they're taking care of it, the cost?
Nope.
We've gotten the vaccines for no cost. And they've seen the wisdom of doing that, in that it slows down the rate of infection. But the pills, I don't know if they're going to kick in for that, or whether we're all going to be on our own. In all other countries, though, if the pill is going to be effective, if it's seen as effective, it will become part of the national formulary. In other words, in no other countries will people have to pay for it. So again, it becomes a have and have not thing in the United States if it isn't taken care of. So those are my comments. I don't know more than that right now. I don't know what the rate of infection is in California or in other parts of the country. All I know is that this variant is as at least as transmissible as the common cold, and probably more.
Thank you, Henry. And yes, we will be returning to this subject as our central focus next.
Yeah, bear with me. I am expecting a grocery shopping delivery right now, so I am kind of checking text messages, but it's just generic text messages. My groceries are coming.
This week on January 2nd, on Sunday, same time. And of course, we always love to hear from you, Henry, so thank you. And Jennifer Beck, you have the final question. Jeffrey, we did sort of close off the stack at Jennifer. Go ahead, Jennifer, with your question, please.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. And a shout out to Sue, Ashamu, and Henry. I haven't heard your voices. Well, I've heard Ashamu's voice recently, but thank you all for being a part of this conversation. So, Dr. Bill, we had a hate crime in my neighborhood like a week ago. They carved up the female bathroom across the pool from me. And, you know, we recently went into supposedly like a lockdown in Orange County where there's supposed to be a mask mandate, but it's not happening. It's not happening. I'm walking blocks. I'm literally trying to get pro worker measures on the ballot right now. And when I take my half-hour lunch break, I go into grocery stores where people are unmasked. Like, how is it that we don't have any legal ramifications against what's happening here, where they're just like subjecting us to getting infected? I'm just so shocked by all this, that like they're passing off this virus to us, and there's nothing we can do. And you know, we're trying to be all careful. And also, by the way, some of the arguments I hear on in the field against pandemic relief fund, against raising the minimum wage, some of the arguments I hear is that, well, we shouldn't just give money to people. We shouldn't do this. They are actually subjecting people to death in order to work for as little as possible. Like, what are our legal ramifications here? I'm just so confused by how the world has evolved to this point. Like, help me out here.
Dr. Bill?
Good question. I think it's larger than legal. It's political. So that's, you know, I get asked a lot. I kind of ask myself a lot. Why, as a physician, you know, I'm not in, you know, more involved in, like, say, Physicians for Natural Health or PNHP, which I am, but, like, say, more involved in PNHP, or Physicians for Social Responsibility, or, you know, Doctors Without Borders, or, you know, because for me, what makes sense is none of that works if you don't have the politics behind you. So that's why my heart is with PDA, Progressive Demographic, because PDA works for all that to happen. So a lot of us are kind of, you know, frustrated, throwing our socks at the TV, you know, when we see that Merrick Garland is not stepping up, you know, or our own state attorneys general are not stepping up. You know, I think, gee, what if, what if Keith Ellison was the attorney general of the United States? I mean, would we be getting more done? To me, your question is more political, certainly not medical, because I 100% agree with you. We're being allowed to be assaulted by people who refuse to wear a mask in public places and public spaces. And so that, to me, is it's a legal question that has a political answer to it. So, and for that reason, I defer to all of you, and certainly back to you, Al, as
Sure.
You know, esteemed leader of this group.
Well, a couple things I want to add on this front, and then go over to the general conversation. First of all, in California, and this goes towards Sue's question, we are going to have an opportunity to count heads as to who in the state assembly is going to vote for AB 1400, and we'll learn that over the next month. I know that the number of people who are planning to vote for it, the number is going up. Obviously, I'm out here in New York State, but we'll be coordinating with our partners for who support AB 1400, and that is, of course, the single payer bill in California. There's also another strategy to achieve single payer in California that is going through commission hearings, and we'll keep pressure on that front as well. I agree that the makeup of Democrats in the Senate and the House make it very difficult to see that passing anytime through, as well as the Democrat in the White House. But I do think it's still a point in history where we need to grow the movement for Medicare for all and build momentum wherever we can. And this push in California will be very important really over the next month, which is something, of course, we'll be updating on this call going forward. There was one person, by the way, who had a question in the chat named Shlomo Orr. He said he wrote.
Okay, so I'll wrap up there. I actually did drop another question later in relation to their liaison program and stated that, you know, if you're having so much difficulty finding 5 volunteers to participate in the liaison program, then you have a staffing issue, because I literally am walking blocks every day for a living now and getting Republicans to sign on to pro-worker measures to get my petition signed. If I can do that, if I can destroy my body on a daily basis and get Republicans on board with pro-worker measures, then your paid staffers should be able to find you 5 volunteers. So I did that. That's later. If you want to, like, I'll copy the link to this particular video. If you want to watch the whole thing. Obviously it's like 2 hours long, but they do this every week. And like I said, Jimmy Dore never shows up. The Convo Couch never shows up. Nico House doesn't show up. Lauren Steiner doesn't fucking show up. Don Ford isn't there. Tim Johnson isn't there. Tim Cotran Johnson, whatever the fuck his name is now. All of the people who are out there telling you that they are progressive leaders. Brandon Harami. What's the guy's name that's in charge of the Progressive Caucus? Karen Brunel. None of these people ever fucking show up to these meetings. They don't. They don't care. They don't have time for it. They just want the publicity and the name recognition. No Mickey Cones. None of them show up to these meetings. They just want internet fame. That's it. That's all they fucking want. They are not actually showing up and doing the work. And the only reason I was on the call, because I was an active participant. I attended the leadership calls. I was organizing meetings for them. I was right in the thick of things. And the reason I have not been attending for roughly the last 6 months is because they allowed their staffer, Danette, to defame me. And they still haven't apologized. Even though Dr. Bill straight up told me that he was asking Danette to apologize to me, it has never happened. And I was an excellent organizer for them. And yeah, it hurts. It hurts. It's hurtful, y'all.